Welcome everybody, we're entering this game. We are in the winners bracket finals at the moment. This is a really cool match. DaSakura right now is up 1-0 against ST.Aphrodite, the pink Terran in the bottom left, teal Zerg in the top left. We are on Tal'Darim Altar LE. This is actually Aphrodite's choice, and what an interesting choice it is. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Terran player Goody, ESC Goody, but he is the single most imbalanced person I've ever seen in anything when it comes to a matchup on a specific map. His Tal'Darim Altar is impeccable in terms of TVZ. And the thing is, he's an incredible mech player. Aphrodite seems to emphasize mech in her TVZ as well. So if we have her copying Goody, this could be very bad news for DaSakura. They already have some similar styles in terms of their gameplay. Goody likes to open Reaper expansion with bunkers being put down inside the main base. We basically put them like there, here, just weird spaces to block them off. Reapers getting streamed in, go in the bunkers, attack, deal damage in that respect. And then Goody likes to go for 2-port Banshee, get a hidden expansion, and go mech. Ferrari, or known as also ST.Aphrodite, seems to be going for pressure with Marines and Hellions at the start, then going for Banshees, and then going for mech. So there's some very large similarities. We need to see exactly what she's going to be doing in this game. I'm very curious to see what's going to be going on. She also kind of had a little bit of a warm-up, wake-up game in the last one, because she is in Korea right now. I assume she's at like a Startail gaming house or something, but Aphrodite took a nap or everything in between games to try and just basically stay 100%. So we'll see what this game's going to look like in terms of her gameplay compared to Sakura's in the last game, because Sakura's play was impeccable. Really solid. Took no damage from that initial Marine Hellion attack up the front on Shakura's Plateau. No damage at all from the Banshees, and then was able to get up 5 bases by the end of it, reduce Aphrodite down to 2 bases, snipe off Thors, do a really good job of being aggressive and taking down what she could, and then just expose the weakness of mech before mech gets up to that really difficult army composition that is very hard to actually kill. So this is an incredibly good first game in terms of how both players are playing and reading and all that. It seems that Aphrodite may be going for the exact same build order, we'll see, or whether or not it's going to be a traditional Reactor Hellion expansion. But I kind of find it odd. This is actually kind of reminding me of Idra in Brood War. Idra for a while was just straight up siege expanding in every single game no matter what, and people could just go ahead and just plan for that in their responses. And it seems that Aphrodite may be falling to that same kind of unfortunate gameplay where she might be opening up with the same exact build every single game, and it doesn't help that Sakura's going to get in and be able to scout this ASAP. Could even send her Overlord right over here, and it might not even ever be seen by oh, is that a bunker over there? There's a bunker, but there's nothing to put in the bunker, so I wasn't looking for the bunker. It doesn't get salvaged though, so it does mean that the full amount of resources were lost, and that actually probably means that it was ended up being more beneficial for Sakura than it was for Aphrodite. But here we do have this Overlord just sitting over here instead of going down to that little area, but still Aphrodite cannot see it, so doesn't really mean much. But there are Hellions being made, there are Marines being made, and it honestly looks like the same exact build order. Starport going down as well, so maybe it could be something different. Will we see a tech lab on the Starport ASAP? Tech lab? Medevac? Medevac! Yes! More conventional play with the, probably going to be some kind of, elevator play with these Marines and the Hellions. That'd be a lot more normal. Command Center going down as well, so we do have, a play with that. Looks like it could, oh, wait a second. Tech Lab. There's no Medevac. Never mind, Aphrodite's doing the same exact thing as before, except without the aggression. Which means it could be worse, could be better. It depends on how you look at it in terms of the fact that Sakura's going to get at drones, but may not be as prepared. But that means there's going to be more drones on the field as opposed to the Marine Hellion pressure reducing the count of those, the count of those drones and links and all that. I don't really know. But Roach Warren is going down, so Sakura is really planning for mech, with the way she seems to be approaching her gameplay. But we do have Blue Flame going down, and I'm disappointed at the lack of deviation from Aphrodite. I would really like to see versatility and more strategies to try and win, especially considering how badly she got destroyed in that last game. Sakura is now up. No Spire at all, it seems, for her. Just straight roaches. No roach speed, though, but no third or fourth bases. This is a very fast, finished lair. But what's it going to be used for? We could be having a Spire being thrown down now, but it doesn't seem to be the case of what she's planning. Alright, so we're going to see that Overlord does get taken out. Seeing there's no natural expansion might be a little bit scary for Sakura. You can see that she didn't scout that. Only seeing the tech lab on top of that factory. And now we see a single Banshee moving around. Not really that many damage, just not that much damage, just basically only Lings that were actually killed. Sakura's the only one that's actually killed a worker in this entire game. But two Queens, pull back Banshee, it does. Will it attack the main base? We actually do see a Spire going down now. But Sakura had a much earlier lair than the Spire was actually made. But now we have these Hellions pushing forward. They are Blue Flame Hellions. They do 19 versus Light. They push forward. These Lings could get sniped really quickly. Ooh, nice pick off on those Lings. Now to continue attacking down there, but Roaches are on the field. But they don't have Roach speed. The lair tech is going to be the Spire, but there's a lot of gas piling up. So we're going to have a nice, probably a good solid 9 or 10 mutas will most likely be able to be built the second the Spire finishes. That'll be a nice boost to the offensive capabilities of Sakura. Ferrari has got almost nothing in terms of upgrades. In fact, literally nothing in terms of upgrades. For Sakura, I don't think there's even an Evo chamber on the field. Just straight up roaches without speed is what's being made. They're the third base going down. Looks like the mutas are really going to be emphasized. We see 7 are on the way right now with the almost 400 gas and everything still available for use down there. There we have 11 mutas. That's what I was looking for. That big influx of that initial rush of mutas to move in and start attacking. However, there's a Thor on the field. There's a missile turret inside the main. There's still holes in the defense, but the Thor is mobile, so we could really be seeing some more, some damage could really easily be done at the moment. And once those mutas run around, but there are Hellions going to go ahead and continue being aggressive. This expansion is there. We actually have 2 mutas, not with the 3 mutas that are moving forward. But there we have, there's other mutas. That's why that was happening. But mutas are down there. We can see that no more workers have been killed. This Thor, I don't think 9 mutas can actually kill a Thor even with Magic Box. Now we see them pushing forward. They're going to see that this missile turret is there. They're going to pick off 1 or 2 SCVs. We're going to see another one going down. We got to be seriously careful. Though. There's the Muta. Muta's getting a nice bit of damage done to these mutas, but they're not. Thor doing a nice bit of damage to the mutas. I think I'm saying the wrong things. Oh, the joy of solo casting 5.5 hours into a tournament, or whatever the timeline is. I can get patchy. And I'm now hungry. I hope I don't pass out. That would be a big damper in terms of casting this tournament. But now we have all these drones here. Continue to mine. But there's no gases actually here. There's one gas being taken, but this one's not. I guess Sakura may not be emphasizing the mutas. You can see how roach speed is almost done. And Ferrari didn't take that much damage. Lost an additional 5 SCVs in the muta harass, but look at the food counts. We have 52 SCVs, 61 drones. Now drone count is increasing, but a lot of supply difference, mostly in terms of the army, which is unfortunate for Ferrari. But in terms of the strength of each individual unit, Ferrari is so high up. Or I guess Aphrodite is so high up in that. I stop saying Ferrari, so it's displayed every time I go over a name. Third base is going down. Where is that command center? There it is. It's not even done yet, but now the starport is getting down the reactor, so we can definitely see a lot more medevacs coming in, possibly for drops, maybe Vikings as well for anti-air. That's one of the big vulnerabilities of mech is simply anti-air. Mutas are countered by the Thors, theoretically, but this rock is still alive. Aphrodite didn't finish killing off the rocks. Aphrodite, the rocks. Roach gonna move in. They might be able to snipe off that Thor really, really easily. We can already see after retreating those units after seeing this Roach influx. I'm sure Sakura's confused as to why these rocks are still alive. But now we have 3 Thors. We have the Banshee. Sakura is now maxed. We've got a bunch of Hellions running around the map still. This is going to be really, really careful. Now we see the rocks being taken down. That's a good thing. Mutas are still hanging out over here on the left side of the map, but now we have the Roaches pushing in. They're going to be able to snipe off 1 Thor and then retreat. But this time, Aphrodite has siege tanks. A significant amount of siege tanks with siege mode. And that is so, so, so key. Actually, the first time we've really seen her getting a nice chunk of siege tanks this early on. Even in her games against Aurora, she did not do that. It was basically 9 Thors that were out in the field, which is incredibly impressive, but still, it's not the best against pure Roach. Even though Thors do a lot of damage, Roaches have a nice ability to concave and move in and just snipe off the Thors very, very quickly. So now we've got, oh, look at that big drop, Roach drop in the main base. This is going to be kind of like what Rhett was trying to do against Goody. But that's the Home Story Cup. This is the Iron Lady Cup. And there's a lot of Hellions running around the field. Here we have Muta's going to be able to run in, probably a little bit of damage, scout the front, see if it's safe to do that kind of drop. You can already see that Aphrodite is just hanging out waiting for Muta's to hit the natural expansion. But here come the Mutas, actually going to make the army move forward and be ready for this drop. But here we go. All the Roaches are going to go move in. We've got this single Thor here. Here we have the units starting to drop. We still have a lot more inside the Overlords. There we have the full army now inside the base. We have a max Roach army inside the main base. Those siege tanks are being forced to unsiege and retreat. This is starting to look really, really bad for Aphrodite. A lot of damage is being done. Mutas are still somewhere on the map. We see tanks going down. Everything is getting hit really, really hard. Roaches are going to move in. We just see a retreat with those guys because that'd be really, really annoying. God, this is insanity moving around. But still, so much is being done. We see a 4th base that's even been taken by Sakura over there, and that's really, really unfortunate. You see SCV is trying to repair the tanks and all that, but right now, Sakura is now basically maxed again. Aphrodite is now down to 100 food, 50 SCVs. Number is decreasing shortly, but not the biggest deal in the world at all. Luckily for Aphrodite, though, this 3rd base has not been touched at all, and another command center is going down. So the economy isn't horribly crippled, however, the production is rather lacking. We're now going to start seeing this money skyrocket for Aphrodite. But all of these overlords are starting to be taken out, and that's going to be really annoying. Sakura's actually now gets basically supply blocked, especially as these overlords are going to move forward and start encountering Marines and things. Going to try and escape, but yeah, they're going to go down. So Sakura is now supply capped. We do have additional 3 overlords now in play. Aphrodite has been forced to rebuild factories over here on the right to try and stay defensive. So at the end of all of this, once everything's officially cleaned up, we only have 5 factories on the field. And they're trying to rebuild their add-ons and everything in order to be able to get out those Thors, get out those siege tanks, and everything that really needs to be done in order to have a good solid mech army. Sakura, you can see, is now at 160 food. Aphrodite is catching up a little bit. This Hellion harassment happening is going to be cleaned up without any difficulty whatsoever. Sakura's now killed 35 SCVs. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Alright, so now Barracks is pushing forward, trying to scout. All we'll basically see is creep. Are there any mutas? There's going to be no mutas left in the field. The only anti-air for that is going to be 4 queens. So this Barracks is going to be able to survive forever. Alright, so we've got another big drop coming. Which is, I guess, is an interesting move considering that did so much damage already. And these turrets will not be done in time. Not in the least. So here come the Overlords dropping in the main base. Where's the army? There we have the army moving in. Oh, they're going to be ready for this. Those Hellions are waiting to go ahead and deal damage. We're going to have all the Overlords going to move down there, starting to drop down and directly on top of the siege tanks. Nice little bit of positioning in terms of the dropping. And we're going to see the siege tank count decreasing a lot, but still Aphrodite is dealing a ton of damage and not taking that much. Siege tanks are rough losses and everything, but right now Aphrodite still has a lot in play. 58 drones to 56 SCVs. Big supply difference, but where is there it is. Greater Spire going down. Broodlords are going to be on the way, and that is going to be a surprise that Aphrodite may not be ready for. However, pushing out this quickly and getting ready for attacking into the everything over here with this could be a nice move. However, needs to push now. Aphrodite's got to push it now before the Broodlords can really start kicking in. Where are those Corruptors? There they are, waiting to become Broodlords. Sakura can get another 5 Broodlords out right now once the money gets available for that. But instead, we're going to have another big drop, but she's got to see that these units are pushing forward. It's actually basically a fake drop. Only 2 of those are filled with those Overlords. A nice little tactical maneuver. Still, a lot of Hellions are pushing forwards up the front. Actually, going to be starting dying in the face of Spinecrow, and this Queen just won't die. We have Roaches coming down from the bottom, doing a nice bit of damage to this Thor, actually. +1 attack is there for these weapons and everything, but Sakura is losing Roaches now. These siege tanks are now all in play, ready to push in. We can see that the Roaches are coming down from the top there too. 2 nice bit of upgrades, and they're doing a lot of damage. This base is now being taken by Sakura in the midst of all this, but goodbye to that push. That is just being taken out very, very efficiently. But it's a PF down here in the bottom middle. Nice, solid play by Aphrodite, doing a great job getting up the expansions, even with losing so much. We can see that there are 75 SCVs that are now on the field. This is actually great play by Aphrodite. I am very, very impressed that Aphrodite is just not dying. Now we have a lot of Roaches going down to the bottom. They're going to see this PF. It's already actually been scouted. But will these SCVs repair in time? Yes, they will be. This PF will not be falling into any amount of Roaches only. This is going to go down. There are no infested Terran to go ahead and spawn, take things out. There's no fungals to move down there. There's no Broodlords or anything to try and hit down there. Now you have all these Roaches being taken down by these siege tanks. Still do a nice bit of damage. However, this base is almost done. But oh, look at the fact that these drones are going to be moving in, returning down here, and then coming back to this hatch that's about to finish. That's a lot of lost efficiency. But Broodlords are now sieging this natural expansion, pushing forward, and going to do a little bit of damage. Not a ton. This base still has some economy left with a nice bit of gas, and that's going to be going down a fair degree. But let's look at Aphrodite in terms of tech. There's not a single starport on the field. Her anti-air is literally only Thor's. But it looks like we're going to see a big push happening against the top right. We see this base that was scouted, but it will be scouted by these Hellions. Still, Command Center has been lifted off, and these Broodlords are still doing a lot of damage. We can see Thors are trying to be made in terms of anti-air to try and defend against this. Here we have the starports. There we go, building those Vikings. There's not really any anti-air support for these Broodlords, but they're still doing a nice bit of damage. But now we have these Vikings coming in, and that's going to be enough to basically kill off these Broodlords without too much difficulty. This base is now being assailed by these siege tanks, and go ahead and move in. We do see SCVs scouting the top right and make sure there's no other base down there for Sakura. Aphrodite is now taking the lead in the food count as more damage is being done. Roaches are being streamed everywhere to try and go ahead and defend against this, but they're a little bit hard pressed. This is a nice siege tank line and a lot of damage. A single Broodlord's come over to try and help that out, but still, you can see Aphrodite is really starting to stabilize and starting to feel comfortable utilizing the map quite well. We can see that this siege tank will be taken out, but at what cost? We can see death to Roaches that Sakura cannot afford to lose. Alright, so now we have another base even going down for Aphrodite. She's playing really, really solidly. But a lot of these Roaches are being rendered worthless. There's not even 3 level upgrades. The hive tech's been out for a while, but no +3 attack or carry pace has been researched. So, we've got these Vikings, we have me getting out of breath, and a lot of siege tanks, Thors, and Vikings moving forward with a nice mixture of units. But a lot of Roaches are ready to go ahead and attack. A lot of Vikings are moving forward. And this is such, they're on hold position? Or they're just not moving. It's a little weird. They're on scan move. I don't know why they're not actually getting away from being attacked. Still, these, it's actually, wait a second, this could actually supply block Sakura. She doesn't have enough to really, oh no, Sakura. 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 Well, we're going to watch the death of a bunch of Overlords, apparently, but now we have a lot of Roaches streaming in to do damage. Only +1 attack is out for these Thors. Now they're getting completely surrounded, and Sakura getting a nice engagement, taking down those units, but these Overlords are continuing to go down. Sakura only just now allowing the Overlords to retreat, and that's still going to be a ton of damage done to her. As Sakura's continuing to try and get this base back up and running, but still, look at Aphrodite getting her 5th base. That is not good. We have a lot of roaches moving forward. Sakura is not going to be happy about that 5th base. He's trying to move in now, and that's exactly what she's doing. We're going to see that there's SC's going to come in and start attacking instead of repairing the siege tanks. Either way, they're basically doomed. But GG gets called by Aphrodite. Huh, maybe there's a lack of production that caused her to GG, but that means that Aphrodite's now been knocked down to the loser's bracket.